You might be the most productive person you know. You're the one who meets every deadline, who always has a plan, and who never seems to drop the ball. On the outside, you are the very picture of success. Your colleagues admire your work ethic, your friends praise your reliability, and you may have a track record of achievements that you've worked incredibly hard for. But behind this mask of competence, there is a private, relentless struggle. Your success is not fueled by passion alone. It's fueled by a constant, gnawing fear of failure. Your biggest strength feels like your most painful secret. If this sounds familiar, you might be asking yourself a difficult question. Why do I feel so constantly stressed and on edge, even when everyone thinks I have it all together? You feel a persistent exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix. You might feel a sense of dread on a Sunday evening, or a knot of tension in your stomach before a routine meeting. You're tired of being told you're doing great when you secretly feel like you're one mistake away from falling apart. This experience is real, it is valid, and it is far more common than you think. It is a pattern often referred to as high-functioning anxiety. This is not a clinical diagnosis you would find in a medical textbook. Rather, it's a behavioral pattern. It describes the experience of people who, on the surface, are very successful, but internally are battling the classic symptoms of anxiety. Think of it like a swan gliding gracefully across a lake. All you see is the effortless elegance, but beneath the water, its feet are paddling frantically, working tirelessly just to stay afloat. That frantic paddling is the inner world of high-functioning anxiety. At its core, this pattern is the use of achievement and over-preparation as a strategy to manage underlying feelings of dread and insecurity. In a world that often feels unpredictable, being productive and staying in control can feel like a powerful shield. The unconscious belief is, if I am perfect, if I achieve enough, if I anticipate every possible problem, then I can keep bad things from happening. Then I will be safe. Then I will be worthy. This strategy often begins to form early in life, perhaps in an environment where mistakes were heavily criticized, or where praise was given only for exceptional performance. You learned that your value was conditional, tied directly to your output. So you became an expert at performing. The problem is, the performance is exhausting, and the fear it's meant to control never truly goes away. One of the most common ways this pattern shows up in daily life is the inability to relax without feeling guilty. Does the idea of a completely unscheduled weekend fill you with a low-grade panic? The moment you sit down to read a book or watch a movie, your mind might start racing, flooded with a mental to-do list of all the productive things you should be doing instead. Rest doesn't feel like a right, it feels like a luxury you haven't earned. This guilt around stillness is a hallmark of high-functioning anxiety. Because your sense of safety is so tied to doing, the act of not doing can feel profoundly unsafe. Your nervous system interprets rest not as recovery, but as a dangerous lapse in vigilance. You are letting your guard down, and that feels threatening. This leads to a strange and frustrating paradox, the cycle of procrastination and panic. You might assume that someone with high-functioning anxiety would be the opposite of a procrastinator, but that's often not the case. The pressure to do a task perfectly can be so overwhelming that the anxiety of starting is paralyzing. You avoid the task not because you are lazy, but because you are terrified of not meeting your own impossibly high standards. So you delay, distracting yourself with other tasks until the deadline is so close that a different feeling takes over: panic. This surge of adrenaline finally overrides the paralysis and provides the fuel for an intense, last-minute burst of work. You pull it off, often with excellent results. But this reinforces a damaging belief: I only work well under pressure. In reality, you are just trading one form of anxiety for another, and it's a cycle that leads directly to burnout. This internal pressure also manifests in your external world through relentless overthinking and overplanning. A simple social event isn't just an evening out, it's a project to be managed. You might spend hours worrying about what to wear, rehearsing potential conversations in your head, and planning the perfect time to arrive and leave. You may write and rewrite a simple email a dozen times, agonizing over every word to ensure it's interpreted exactly as you intended. This isn't just being thorough, it's an attempt to control the future, to eliminate every variable, and remove any possibility of social awkwardness, misinterpretation, or negative judgment. While this level of preparation can be a strength in some professional contexts, in daily life it is mentally draining. It keeps you stuck in your head, preventing you from being present and spontaneous in the moment. The body always keeps score. This constant state of high alert takes a significant physical toll. People with a pattern of high-functioning anxiety often live with chronic physical symptoms that they may not connect to their mental state. Tension headaches, a tight jaw from clenching your teeth, or persistent neck and shoulder pain are common. You might struggle with stomach issues, as the gut is highly sensitive to stress hormones. And perhaps most ironically, despite feeling exhausted all the time, sleep offers little relief. You might find it hard to fall asleep because your mind won't shut off, or you might wake up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, thinking about your to-do list. This is your body's way of telling you that it is perpetually stuck in a low-grade state of fight or flight. It is running a marathon every single day, even when you are sitting still. A common myth among those who experience this pattern is that their anxiety is a superpower. They believe, this constant worry is what makes me successful. If I wasn't anxious, I'd be lazy and complacent. It's an easy trap to fall into, because on the surface, there's a correlation. Your anxiety drives you to prepare, to double-check your work, and to achieve. But it's crucial to distinguish between healthy motivation and fear-based action. Healthy motivation is a pull. It's the genuine desire to create, to learn, and to grow. It feels expansive and energizing. Anxiety is a push. It's the desperate need to run away from the specter of failure and inadequacy. It feels constricting and depleting. You are not successful because of your anxiety. You are successful in spite of it. Imagine how much more you could accomplish and how much more you would enjoy it if all that energy spent on worry was freed up for creative, focused work.
Consider the story of a graphic designer named Alex. For years, Alex believed that his anxiety was the secret to his award-winning work. He would procrastinate on big projects, then work for 48 hours straight before the deadline, fueled by caffeine and the terror of disappointing his clients. He was celebrated for his creativity and his ability to deliver under pressure, but privately, he was miserable and burnt out. After recognizing this pattern, he decided to try a different approach. He started projects earlier, breaking them down into smaller, less intimidating steps. He built in time for rest. At first, it felt unnatural, but the opposite happened. With a calmer mind, his ideas were more creative. He was able to iterate and refine his designs with care, rather than in a frantic rush. He won another award, and this time he knew it was because of his talent and dedication, not his exhaustion. He learned that his skill was the superpower, not his anxiety. So, how do we begin to dismantle this pattern? We start with small, manageable experiments. The first is what we can call the good enough challenge. This practice is designed to build your tolerance for imperfection. The goal is to intentionally complete a low-stakes task to about 80% of your usual perfect standard. Choose something that doesn't have major consequences. For example, instead of rereading and editing a non-critical email for 10 minutes, read it once for typos and send it. Instead of spending an hour tidying a room until it's spotless, spend 15 minutes making it just good enough for now. The point of this exercise is to gather evidence. You are teaching your nervous system that the world does not fall apart when something isn't flawless. Each time you complete a task to a good enough standard and nothing bad happens, you are weakening the link between perfection and safety. A second powerful tool is to implement scheduled worry time. This may sound counterintuitive, but it's an incredibly effective technique for containing anxious thoughts. Here's how it works. Choose a specific 15-minute window in your day, for example, from 5 to 5:15 p.m. This is your designated time to worry. When you're in that window, you have full permission to let your mind run wild. Write down every fear, every worst-case scenario, every anxious thought that comes up. Get it all out. Then, when the time is up, you close the notebook and move on. If a worried thought pops into your head at another time of day, you don't try to suppress it. You simply acknowledge it and tell yourself, "Thank you for that thought. I will give it my full attention during my scheduled worry time." This practice does something remarkable. It stops anxiety from bleeding into every hour of your day. It shows your brain that you are in control of when you engage with these thoughts, not the other way around. Finally, a simple mindfulness exercise can help you distinguish between productive energy and anxious energy. So much of high-functioning anxiety is lived on autopilot, driven by a frantic buzz of nervous energy that we mistake for motivation. The practice is to simply pause several times a day and check in with your body. Close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath. Quietly ask yourself, what is the quality of the energy I feel right now? Does it feel like a clear, focused current moving you forward? That's productive energy. Or does it feel tight, scattered, and chaotic, like a buzzing in your chest? That's anxious energy. You don't have to do anything about it at first. The goal is simply to notice the difference. This simple act of awareness is powerful. Once you can identify anxious energy, you can make a conscious choice. Instead of letting it push you into frantic, unfocused action, you might choose to take 3 deep breaths or walk around the room for a minute, allowing the wave of anxiety to pass. The journey away from high-functioning anxiety is about unlearning a core belief that your worth is defined by your productivity. It's about slowly and patiently teaching yourself that you are valuable simply for who you are, not for what you do. True productivity and creativity flourish in an environment of psychological safety, not in a climate of fear. You do not have to be anxious to be successful. In fact, by learning to find a sense of calm, you unlock a more sustainable and ultimately more powerful version of yourself. The goal is not to stop achieving. It is to start achieving from a place of wholeness, not from a place of fear. As you move forward, remember that this is a pattern built up over many years. It will take time and self-compassion to change. Be kind to yourself in the process. Celebrate the small victories, the moment you chose to rest instead of work, the email you sent without overthinking, the compliment you accepted without deflecting. Each of these is a step toward a new way of being. What is one small way you could practice being good enough this week instead of perfect?